With the initial 53-man roster set, we're considering the role for each rookie in 2024. Plus, the Bills made a notable addition to the practice squad. I'm going to break it all down for you today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. I want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, folks, welcome in. The roster is set. It feels like the practice squad is basically set. And so what I want to do today is consider the role that I anticipate for each rookie on this roster in 2024. And so we'll work through those players, and then the Bills added a couple of players to their practice squad, including Lewis Cine, who was a recent first-round pick of the Minnesota Vikings. And so I want to talk about that as well. But I do want to start with these rookies and the roles that we forecast. The Bills are transitioning a lot of their roster. They got younger in so many different places on this roster. And a lot of that is going to create opportunity for young players. And obviously a lot of second and third year players, but this rookie class as well. This rookie class that is 10 deep. The Bills are rostering right now 10 rookies, including 2 undrafted free agents. So what are these guys going to do for the team in 2024? I'm going to speculate over that right now. We'll start with wide receiver Keon Coleman, the Bills' top pick in this draft, round 2, number 33 overall. And I'll say this, I'm encouraged by what I saw at camp in terms of Josh Allen's willingness to give Keon chances to make plays on the ball. That was pretty impressive. You know that Keon Coleman is a guy with a big catch radius and a stylistically different receiver for Josh Allen, one that isn't going to always create a ton of separation, but he creates late separation with size, with length, with body control, with ball skills. And so Josh Allen can kind of throw it to a spot and trust that Keon can go get it. And you saw that work out a lot in camp. Now, we didn't get to see much during preseason because Josh Allen played like a series and a half. So you didn't really get to see much or any of that connection during the preseason. And so Keon's going to factor in here. He's certainly a top 4 receiver for this team. The question is how much volume goes his way in terms of targets in the passing game. Now, obviously, that's going to be dictated by how successful he is when Josh Allen gives him chances during games. And if that goes well, more chances and more opportunity will come his way. But I think realistically, in terms of the pecking order of this passing offense, I would comfortably say that Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir are going to get more opportunity than Keon Coleman and probably Curtis Samuel. And so that being true, he's at best your 4th option in the passing game. That doesn't factor Mac Hollins. That doesn't factor Dawson Knox. It doesn't factor running backs. I think safely, I'm going to project 50 to 70 targets for Keon Coleman. And on Monday, I know I've been teasing this. On Monday, you will get my full offensive stat predictions for the Bills, right? I'll go and give you every player's numbers that I project. But spitballing right now, I'm expecting between 50 and 70 targets. And where he ultimately lands on that scale will be dictated by how the opportunities go when Josh Allen throws him the ball during games. But I don't necessarily see a guy that's going to get 90 to 100 targets as a rookie. Remember, this is a young player. And obviously, he was drafted to be a big part of this passing offense. And I think for a second-round pick to get 50 to 70 targets is pretty solid. And then I think you look at year 2 and 3 as, okay, can he become the third option, the second option as things expand? And then hopefully you have yourself one heck of a wide receiver on your hands. But the rookie forecast is a little bit challenging here. Let's move on to Cole Bishop, the Bills' second-round pick, number 60 overall. We know he was drafted to be a starter because Sean McDermott told us he was. So we drafted him to be a starter eventually. The question's when. And unfortunately, he's behind the 8 ball. Missed a lot of camp, missed all of preseason. Was excited to kind of see him get those opportunities, and I think those are meaningful for a guy like Cole Bishop as a rookie, especially when his competition for playing time is Mike Edwards, who's an experienced veteran that's played in multiple schemes, has a lot of big-time starting experience, and Damar Hamlin, who's the most experienced safety in this scheme for this team. And so he's behind the 8 ball. His time's going to come, but when? Where does he fall on the pecking order of trust, right? That's what it's going to come down to. Do the Bills trust you to go play? Do they trust him or Damar Hamlin? Do they trust him or Mike Edwards? It's only a matter of time, but that trust has to be earned. And so that leads me to the following question. Is there a sub-package opportunity? If the Bills go with extra defensive backs on the field, are there situations where they would bring in Cole Bishop in terms of sub-packages? You know, one of my favorite things about Cole Bishop is his ability to play man coverage against tight ends. Are there going to be games and situations where you want to put him in spots to do that? He certainly projects well as a special teams player with his athleticism, with his urgency, his physicality. But you're not going to dress 5 safeties, right? You have 53 players on your roster, 48 are active on game day. You're not going to dress 5 safeties every week. So who's the inactive player? Is it Hamlin? Is it Edwards? Is it Bishop? It's probably not Cam Lewis because of his versatility. I think it's certainly fluid. And again, a matter of when he gets his opportunity to start. I just don't know how quick that's going to be as a rookie in 2024. Next up is Dewayne Carter, round 3, number 95 overall. He's going to be part of this defensive tackle rotation. The Bills dress and play 4 defensive tackles every game. And Dewayne Carter's part of this mix. The team is only rostering 4 defensive tackles, and one of the big talking points that I've had this summer is, can Dewayne Carter do enough to inspire the Bills to not have to roster a 5th defensive tackle? Well, the answer to that is yes. And so, as the 4th defensive tackle behind Oliver, Jones, and Johnson, I think Carter's staring at 300 or more snaps this coming season. Probably between 20 and 30% of the snaps he'll have the opportunity to play. And so, I think he's going to factor into this defensive tackle rotation, and I'm excited to see what he offers. It's nice to have a piece of this mix, right? Like you have veteran players in Oliver, Jones, and Johnson. It's nice to have one guy on a rookie deal to kind of balance out your spending as it relates to your defensive tackle group. The next guy is Ray Davis, running back, 4th round, number 128 overall. I'm excited for Ray Davis, and I think he's going to have a big opportunity. To me, he's the rookie to watch for this team. James Cook, Bills' lead running back, had really good stats last year. I understand that. But the raw volume doesn't tell the entire story. And I know it probably sounds like I'm not a big James Cook fan. I like James Cook. I'm also keenly aware of his limitations as a player. Not always an assertive physical runner. Doesn't offer you much in short yardage or in terms of winning after contact. Has some fumbling problems. Has some drops problems. Doesn't offer much in pass protection. So you can love the volume stats all you want. There's limitations. You could easily see Ray Davis claiming a good amount of volume for this team this year. I don't think James Cook's going to touch the amount of touches he had last year. I think that could come down into the 200 to 225 touch range And then Ray Davis is in store for 100 to 150 touches. And there's a physicality, there's an assertiveness that Ray Davis runs with that I think the coaching staff's going to really gravitate towards. James Cook is a slashing style runner, good agility, elusive, has that make you miss ability in space, speed. You like all those things. He's got upside as a pass catcher. But you don't always feel his pop and physicality and assertiveness running the ball between the tackles. You will with Ray Davis. It's a good complementary pair of backs in terms of the contrasting skill sets that they offer. But don't be surprised if Ray Davis eats into this market share in a pretty meaningful way as a rookie in 2024. All right, folks, that's the first batch of rookies that I want to discuss. We got a bunch more, obviously. All of the 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks, plus a couple of UDFAs. And I want to tell you about Jalen Virgil and Lewis Cine on this practice squad. Folks, we'll get to all that here in just a moment. Be sure to stick with me. Want to get in shape, but you're having trouble staying motivated? Well, make 5-Hour Energy Shots part of your lifestyle and get the energy boost that you need to get fit. We all know that sometimes you don't want to go to the gym. Well, take a 5-Hour Energy Shot to give you the feeling and alertness so you can get to the gym. 5-Hour Energy is the brand that hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to give them alert, energized feelings that they need to get through a busy and hectic day. You always know where to find the 5-Hour Energy Shots, right at the cash register at nearly every convenience store, drugstore, and grocery store nationwide. So stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5-Hour Energy Shots. You can also go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5, hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy products today. You can also use my promo code LOCKEDONFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is valid through September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. It's not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Welcome back, folks. I am really excited for a new tradition that I'm going to have a chance to be a part of. Colton RV and Marines rally on the river the day before kickoff festival at Buffalo River Works, Saturday, September 7th. That's the day before the Bills host the Arizona Cardinals. Make us part of your kickoff weekend. This is going to be an incredible event. I'm doing a live podcast at Buffalo River Works, Saturday, September 7th at 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's just a small part of what's happening that day. Of course, I can't wait to do the live show. Can't wait to say hello to as many of you as possible. But the entire day is going to be awesome. There's free admission. It's a family-friendly event. You have live performances from me, the Strictly Hip, Scott Solani, Tom Petty cover band, and Mark Christie of Flipside. There's a beer release party that day. Buffalo's first organic beer called OM, which stands for Organically Made. It's clean beer, right? No heavy metals, no insecticides, no glyphosate. There's going to be free tastings and giveaways. I've had it. It's super good. My wife loves it as well. You got to try it. There's a mechanical buffalo. There's a $17 unlimited ride package. They've got amusement rides there. They got kayaking, zip lines. This place is incredible. So check it out. Let's have fun. The rally on the river, day before kickoff festival. Again, I go live at 3 o'clock. I plan on spending a good part of my day there on Saturday. So come hang out with me. There's going to be local vendors, Totally Buffalo store, 26 shirts, the Lucky Wing, tailgate, food, drink specials, and Chalk Fest. Chalk Fest is something that's super cool. Don't sleep on this. So Buffalo River Works is the place with the Ferris wheel on top of the grain silos. So there's all these grain silos, which means lots of concrete. So these chalk artists, like literally people that draw with chalk, like sidewalk chalk, come in there and do these unbelievable pictures. And so there's going to be a contest, an invitational contest, and the theme is authentically Western New York. I cannot wait to see the pictures that these incredible artists draw throughout the grain silos. So come check it out. Be part of it. The day before kickoff festival, rally on the river, Buffalo River Works. There's parking, free admission. I go live at 3 o'clock. Come be part of it. There's a link to the Facebook event page in today's show notes. So if you want to get more details, click on that, go to the Facebook event page, say that you're going, and share it. Like, let's make this the best thing to do in Western New York outside of attending the Bills game on Sunday. Be part of it. Cannot wait for it. Okay, folks, let's get back to these rookies and talk about what I think they're going to do in 2024. Next pick the Bills made is Sedrick Van Pran-Granger, the center from Georgia, round 5, number 141 overall. As a rookie, he's going to provide depth, right? He's probably the third option at center behind, of course, Connor McGovern, then Alec Anderson. Then you have Sedrick Van Pran-Granger, who's also had some opportunities to play guard during training camp practices. And I'm sure, after Alec Anderson, he'd be a candidate to step in at guard. So he offers some versatility, but he's developing depth. And maybe one day he'll be a starter for this team. But for this year, I think most weeks he'll probably be inactive. But I'm excited to have him in the pipeline. Now, the Bills will dress at least 8 offensive linemen every week. You got to do that. So I don't know that he's going to be one of the 8. Certainly, Vandemark and Alec Anderson are 6 and 7. And then the Bills will decide between Tylan Grable and Sedrick Van Pran-Granger for who they want to be the 8th offensive lineman that's dressing on game day. But he's developing depth this year, but I'm excited for him to be in the pipeline. Next up is linebacker Edefuan Ulofoshio out of Washington, round 5, number 160 overall. He's also developing depth. I'm sure he'll factor in to the mix on special teams. And I thought he played well against Carolina Panthers. I liked his speed. I liked his ability to play off contact and make tackles, and I think that will help on special teams. And so the question that I have with him is, of the 6 linebackers that the Bills are rostering, how many are going to be active players each week? Of course, Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams, they're going to be active every week. But then between Joe Andreessen, Edefuan Ulofoshio, Balin Spector, and Nicholas Moreau, probably one of them is an inactive player each week. Will it be the same guy every week? Will it rotate? We'll find out. But Ulofoshio very clearly, to me, developing depth, maybe factoring in on special teams, and it's going to be interesting to see who they choose to dress on a weekly basis. I think they'll probably lean into the experience. So Nicholas Moreau and Balin Spector will probably dress, assuming they're healthy. And then Andreessen and Ulofoshio, one of them will probably be inactive each week. Next up is edge rusher Javon Solomon, round 6, number 168 overall. He falls into the bucket of developing depth as well, and kind of questionable as to whether or not I think he'll be an active player. Again, this is all barring injury. If one injury happens, these guys, of course, are going to be active and the roles are different. But, of course, we're talking about this through the lens of there's not any injuries. But Javon Solomon, developing depth. The top 4 edge rushers are Rousseau, Epinesa, Miller, and Smoot. Those guys will be active each week. And then I think one of him, meaning Javon Solomon, or Casey Tuhill, is inactive each week. So the question will come down to which one do they like more on special teams. You could see that being Casey Tuhill, who's got a lot of length and athleticism, and he's played special teams in the NFL. And I feel like special teams is a big reason why Casey Tuhill was rostered. And so it'll be him or Solomon each week to be active or not. And then I think in terms of opportunities for Solomon to play defense, probably has a lot to do with guys that would be banged up ahead of him. And then what does he do when he has an opportunity? Again, developing depth, and we'll see how that expands throughout the course of the season. Similar conversation with offensive tackle Tylan Grable, 6th-round pick, number 204 overall, developing depth. Super excited about him. I've said repeatedly that he's the story of the preseason for me as a 6th-round pick, what he's shown us at tackle. And his job this year, gain comfort, be the 4th offensive tackle. Obviously Dawkins and Brown are your starters. Vandemark's the swing, and then the next guy up at tackle is Tylan Grable. So get comfortable, and then I'm really fascinated to see what type of opportunity Grable has next year. Spencer Brown, an expiring contract. Have the Bills seen enough from Ryan Vandemark and Tylan Grable to say, okay, Spencer Brown, we love you, but we're not going to pay you $16, $18, $20 million a season to be our right tackle. We'll let you walk in free agency. We'll get a 3rd or a 4th round compensatory pick, and then let Grable and Vandemark compete to be the starting right tackle. And one guy's the starter, the other guy's the swing tackle, right? That's the whole idea of this developing depth and this pipeline of young players. Like, how do you take advantage of it? I think that's a very practical application of what that could look like. Now, of course, the Bills could just love Spencer Brown and be happy to pay him and enjoy these young players as depth guys, like that's totally possible. But the emergence of these types of players, I think, forces us to have those types of conversations. Next pick the Bills made was Daequan Hardy, cornerback out of Penn State, 6th round, number 219 overall. He didn't make the active roster. He's back on the practice squad. And I know the Bills keep saying to us that they drafted him to be a punt returner, and maybe eventually he will be. I'm most impressed with him as a corner. And so I'm excited that he's back on the practice squad, which, presumably would mean he'll sign a futures contract and be back in the mix next year. And good year for him to just continue to learn the system, learn the punt return duties, practice that every day, and see where he falls next year. But probably a guy that'll spend this year on the practice squad. And then the last player the Bills drafted was offensive tackle Travis Clayton, 7th round pick, number 221. And Clayton is a rugby player that's never played football, and he missed almost all of camp and preseason with a shoulder injury. He's on injured reserve. He's out for the season. He will not play. So I think the objective here with Travis Clayton is take this year, be around the game, be around the team, learn what that's all about, and then we'll see where you're at next year. And the good news is that the International Pathway Program exemption still exists for Travis Clayton next year. And so the Bills are taking advantage of the IPP, International Pathway Program, with Kingsley Jonathan, who's an exempt player on the practice squad. But you can only have one IPP player on your team at any given point in time. So this year, that's going to be Kingsley Jonathan. But next year, that could very easily be Travis Clayton. And we'll see where he's at. And obviously, I don't think he was ever going to factor into the mix this year. But with a year under his belt, getting familiar with the game and the NFL, he'll be better positioned next year, which I think next year he will be the exempt player on the practice squad. And then really it's a 2026 conversation for Travis Clayton. But obviously a big onboarding process, and he's got a lot of tools and a lot of athleticism, never played football. So there's a lot that he's got to figure out. All right, so we've talked about all the draft picks. Coming up on the other side of it, the 2 undrafted free agents, Joe Andreessen and Brandon Codrington. Then we'll talk about these 2 new practice squad additions in Lewis Cine and Jalen Virgil. We'll break that all down for you here in just a moment. Be sure to stick with me. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Okay, folks, 2 UDFAs made the Bills roster. So 8 of their 10 draft picks and then 2 UDFAs on this roster. Joe Andreessen out of University of Buffalo. He's a member of this roster, and I think he falls into the exact same conversation that we had about Edefuan Ulofoshio. Nice profile for special teams, developing depth type season for them. And I don't think that both will be active. If all the linebackers are healthy, which with Bale Spector as part of the mix, that's probably never going to be true. But with all those guys healthy, I'm not sure there's a place on the game day roster for both Andreessen and Ulofoshio, but there will be for one of them. And I would be curious, does it rotate? I'm sure for week 1 against Arizona at Highmark Stadium, you probably pick Andreessen to be active and put him out there for the opening kick and special team snaps throughout. But, Ulofoshio will need his opportunities as well. So we'll see how that sorts itself out. And the other guy is Brandon Codrington, new arrival, right? The Bills traded for him, and he's going to be the primary punt returner. And at least initially, if he winds up bombing, then the Bills will have to pivot and figure something else out. But there was a lot of intent behind this move. They traded for him and put him on the roster, and they did that because they want him to be the punt returner. Now, the investment wasn't significant. It's a 2026 swap of a 7th-round pick for a 6th-round pick, and you get the player. So it's not like the Bills have a lot invested here, but they do have the initial opportunity to be the Bills punt returner in 2024 invested in this guy, and let's hope he's awesome. Had a great preseason, a very decorated career in college as a punt returner, and the Bills need him to be the answer. They need him to be the answer. Well, let's hope that winds up being true. So those are your rookies, 10 rookies on this roster entering week 1, and that's what I think they're going to do this year. The Bills did make 2 new practice squad additions, and I think both are very, very interesting. The most interesting is Lewis Cine. And yes, it's pronounced Cine. It's spelled C-I-N-E, but it's pronounced Cine. I know that people love to let me know if I mispronounce a word, especially a name. And so back off. I got this one correct. All right, so what's the scoop on Lewis Cine? 24 years old. Young, right? Young player. 2022 first-round pick. That's only 2 years ago by the Vikings out of Georgia. 6'2", 199 pounds, 32 and a quarter inch arms. Great size, great length. Really good athlete as well. Ran 4.37 in the 40. RAS score of a 9.92 out of 10. So big-time athlete from a big-time school that was a first-round pick 2 years ago. So you're like, Joe, why is he still not on the Vikings, right? That's great, but this guy shouldn't have been available. Well, there's a couple of reasons why he's available. First of all, he missed his entire rookie season, basically, in week 5 of 2022. He had a compound fracture to his lower leg, required 2 surgeries. It ended his rookie season. Came back healthy in 2023. I think there might have been some complications maybe, but he was drafted for a different defense than Brian Flores. Brian Flores became the defensive coordinator in 2023, the year after they drafted Lewis Cine. And Brian Flores runs defenses different than anybody else in the whole world. I mean, very blitz aggressive type scheme that's not necessarily tailored for a guy like Lewis Cine. And it sounds like maybe there was, maybe some tension there between those two guys. But the injury is a rookie, and then because of that, a guy like Cam Bynum emerges for Minnesota at safety, and him and Harrison Smith are the guys back there. So he was released as part of the cut-down day moves by the Vikings. He's only logged 10 defensive snaps in 2 seasons, 118 special team snaps in 2 seasons. But he's still a player. I mean, this was a first-round pick in 2022, and people expected him to be a late first-round pick, early second-round pick. For me, I had a high second-round grade on him. He was my number 29 player on my board that year. And he comes with familiarity with Jamil Adai, the Bills' DB coach. They were together at Georgia, so that's helpful. And look, it's kind of interesting. Lewis Cine was originally slated to go to the Jets, and he reversed course and decided to go to the Bills. And I think it's a good move for him because I've talked a lot about it. Sean McDermott's resume of coaching safeties is off the charts. Going back to the Eagles, the Panthers, the Bills, this guy has unlocked a lot from players that were not high pedigree players, mid-round picks, late-round picks, guys that were overlooked by other teams. I think Poyer and Hyde are a great example of that. Keon Coleman, Mike Mitchell, Quentin Michael. There's a long list of safeties that kind of out of nowhere became big-time impact players under Sean McDermott, and I think Lewis Cine aligned himself with a great opportunity in Buffalo. And in terms of the skill set, coming out of Georgia, this guy was a big-time physical player, like just tackling, playing downhill, just an absolute missile. And I know he's got good speed, right? 4.37, and certainly can cover a lot of ground. Not necessarily a player that his ball skills popped a lot in college, but speed, range, physicality, tackling, this dude is a hammer. So we'll see what the Bills can get out of him. The other player the Bills added to the practice squad is Jalen Virgil, 26 years old, 2022 undrafted free agent out of Appalachian State by the Broncos. 6 foot, 207 pounds, ran 4.41 at his pro day, RAS score of a 9.16 out of 10. So another big-time athlete with good size. Scored a touchdown on his first career catch in 2022. His first catch was a 66-yard touchdown reception against the Tennessee Titans. And mostly spent 2022 on the practice squad. In 2023, he missed the whole season with a torn meniscus. But he comes to the Bills as a very decorated college kick returner. 37 kick returns in college, average of 30.8 yards per return, which is exceptional. 3 return touchdowns. Now, he was also a receiver at Appalachian State, but really didn't have that much production. In 61 games across 5 seasons, 100 catches on the dot, 1,441 yards, 11 touchdowns. He never had more than 383 yards in any one season. So the name of the game with him is kick returns, not punt returns. He's never done punt returns, so that's kind of a missing piece of the equation here for him. But certainly a guy that maybe the Bills have some hopes to help as a kick returner. Now, these two moves fill out the Bills practice squad. In fact, they had to release a player. Deon Cain, wide receiver, was dropped from the practice squad. So the practice squad is full, 17 players. One note, though, is that on every NFL practice squad, you're allowed a max of 6 veteran players. The Bills, after they released Deon Cain, have 5. So the Bills, while they don't have any room on their practice squad, they'd have to release somebody. They do have room for a veteran player, which is good. They're one shy of the max of 6. So they could add a veteran. They could add anyone they want to the practice squad, but there does have to be a corresponding move in terms of somebody getting bounced. But the point being, they do have room to add a veteran player to the practice squad if they so choose, but they will have to cut somebody. So there you have it. Rookie roles for all 10 of them, including the 2 draft picks. So I guess 12 players, right? 1 on the practice squad, 1 on injured reserve. The arrival of Lewis Cine and Jalen Virgil, the departure of Deon Cain, folks, we did it. And next week, week 1, folks, week 1. We'll start the week by giving you my 2024 offensive stat predictions, little herd mentality. And then before you know it, crossover preview with Locked On Cardinals, my game primer, predictions, all the things we do. And then, of course, capping the week at Buffalo River Works, Rally on the River. Check it out. Link in today's show notes to see the event page there. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. Thanks for being here. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you'll come back. Make sure that you are subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.